snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hi guys, so I am here today to do my November wrap up. I cannot believe it, Christmas is right around the corner and I am so excited. So excited to have a break from uni, so excited to go home and just have some nice family time, doing all the fun things that we do around Christmas time. Oh, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. But with that said, my November reading, I still read a fair amount. I mostly read graphic novels. I did read 10 books, but most of them I don't have in physical edition because I either listened to them on audiobook or I've already taken the book home when I went back home earlier in the month. So I'm just going to put pictures in for those ones. So the first thing that I read in November was From Under Mountains, which is by Marion Churchland, Leong and Gibson. This is a series which is a spin-off from the 8 House series, which I'm also currently reading, and it's basically seeing the part of the world that Marion Churchland worked on. I really like this, but it is really weird. So far, I'm only giving this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I then read my first Marvel, Discovering Marvel book or single issue that Michael and I are doing together. There will be some reviews of all of these books coming up really soon. Sorry, I've been a bit behind. This one is Nova, and it's the first in the all new, all different Nova series, and I actually ended up really enjoying this. I wasn't sure that I was going to because Marvel and superheroes isn't necessarily my thing and I find it very hard to get into, but I did find this really easy to get into. I think it's a great entry point into the universe, and also Michael has told me it's a good way to continue the story and it's still got things for people who are long-term fans. So it sounds like it's a really good start point and it sounds like it's a very good continuation as well, so that's good. So I ended up giving that a 3.5 out of 5 stars as well. Not a huge fan of the artwork, but I do like the story. Moving on to one where the artwork is incredible. This one is Pretty Deadly. It is by DeConnick, Rios, Belair and Cowles. Pretty Deadly is a series which started quite a long time ago. There was a volume brought out a couple of years ago, I think now. I did review it on my channel. It's a very weird story, wild western, but really enjoyable read. Gave this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It is issue 6 of Pretty Deadly, the new story arc, and I'm very much looking forward to continuing on with this. Next, I went ahead and picked up Island issue 4, which is the monthly sort of comic book magazine type thing I've been picking up recently, which is put together by Brandon Graham and Emma Rios, and I actually really enjoyed this one. There were some artwork pieces that I didn't love, as always, but I gave this a 3.5 out of 5 stars again. I then picked up Briar, which is by Benjamin Reed and Chris Wildgoose. This is the second graphic novel I've read by them. They're actually the creators of Porcelain, which I think I showed you guys fairly recently in the last couple of months. I loved it. It was a graphic novel. It's about a girl called Child. This one is a kind of twist on Sleeping Beauty trapped behind the thorns and behind the briar, and it's a lot more twisted than I thought it was going to be. Really interesting concept. Loved the way it was told. I do wish it had been longer because it is incredibly short, but I do think it is a series that they are planning to continue, so I will be on the lookout for the next one whenever it comes out. And again, I gave this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I then picked up 8 House issue 4. This one is Yoris part 1, and I actually really ended up enjoying this one. It's by a whole new art team, and when I first saw the artwork I didn't think I was going to love it because it's not really my style necessarily, but I ended up really enjoying the story, and the concepts that they've woven into this I thought were really interesting. And so I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars, and I'm definitely looking forward to picking up part 2, which I think is already out or comes out very soon. So need to get my hands on that one. The next one that I picked up is The Wicked and the Divine, issue 16. This one I believe is one of the last ones with a guest artist. I think we've got one more and then it returns to the original team, I hope. This one I liked the art style enough. I didn't love it. I still didn't think it was as good as the original team, but I did really enjoy the story because it's all about the Morrigan, and I think that is such an interesting character, and I really enjoyed seeing a bit of her backstory. So I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars as well. I then picked up Lumberjanes Volume 2, Friendship to the Max. This is by Stevenson, Ellis, Waters, Allen and Lahayo. I definitely enjoy this series. I think it is a lot of fun every time I read it, but I didn't feel as though this volume was quite on par with the first volume. I just enjoyed that so much more. I don't know if that's because when I went into the first volume I didn't know what to expect, whereas this one I did. But this one was still really fun, still really engaging. I just didn't love it as much. I have heard it goes a bit downhill because there's like different artists and things coming in, and it all sort of messes a little bit up. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be continuing any further than this. I would like to, but I don't want to like waste money if it's not very good. So guys, if you've been reading it, let me know whether you think it's worth continuing. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. I then picked up my all-time favourite of the whole month in graphic novels, and that is Monstrous. This series, guys, it's only just started, and the first issue was a really, really long triple-length issue. And I actually picked this up on Comixology because I couldn't find it in my local shop because everyone had taken them, they'd all sold out really quickly. So I was really excited to get my hands on this on Comixology, and I have since ordered the second batch. They're going to be reprinting the first issue as a second batch with a different cover. The story is going to be the same, I believe, and so I've reordered that for when that comes out, which is in December. But I am so excited about this series. It is one of the best graphic novels I've ever encountered, and it was only a single issue, well, a triple-sized single issue. It was so good. The artwork is absolutely stunning, just flawless. I really, really loved it. Based sort of in Japan or Japanese influence, it's all about these monsters or monstrous people, people who have like one eye in their heads instead of two, or people who are like half fox and stuff. It does have a bit of an anime manga type vibe to it, but it is so beautiful and the story's really interesting as well. I just think it's awesome, so I'm so looking forward to getting the next issue when that comes out in a couple of days. Oh, it's going to be awesome. Yeah, it's such a good series, so you guys should definitely pick that up. And of course, I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It was incredible. I loved it from start to finish. I just cannot wait to see where it goes. Then I picked up all of the Lady Mechanicas that I had left to read. There are 2 story arcs currently out, so I picked up the first one, and I'd already read issue 0 and issue 1 last month, so I picked up issue 2, which I gave a 4.5 stars to, issue 3, which I gave a 4.5 stars to as well, and then issue 4 I gave a 5 stars, and issue 5 I gave a 5 stars. This is a steampunk series. It is so incredible. I love it. It's almost on par with Monstrous. Not quite, but almost. It's just so good. It's really engaging, really entertaining. I love the artwork. I love the characters. I think they're all really, really interesting. And it's just such a cool idea. So I have ordered myself the actual physical edition of the volume because I know I'm going to love it, and I'm sure that it's already at home. I just haven't got it yet because I ordered it to my actual house instead of my uni house. So hopefully when I go back there I will have it. But overall, I mean, this series I've been giving them all 4.5 and 5 stars, so it is a really good one and I would highly, highly recommend it. Then again on Comixology I ended up picking up Toil and Trouble issue 2 and then issue 3. This is a series which is kind of a spin-off of Macbeth, mostly focusing on the witches and what they do and how they get involved in it. It's slightly different to the original, definitely. There are some twists that I wasn't anticipating, but I am really liking the story. It doesn't have an awful lot of text, so it's mostly told in pictures most of the time, but I do really like it. I gave issue 2 3 stars and then issue 3 4 stars. Then moving on to some independently published books. You guys might remember a couple months ago I picked up Cat Zine issue 1 and 2. Issue 3 and issue 4 are now out, and so I picked these 2 up as well, and I was very, very excited to get to them both. Issue 3 and issue 4 I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. I think they're both incredible. I love the way that they're put together. They're really, really beautiful, and then inside they are pencil drawings the whole way through, which I adore. So really, really enjoy these, and I'll definitely be continuing on getting these in the new year. I think they come out quarterly, so very excited for more of them. And then finally for the graphic novels I picked up issue 1 of Paper Girls, which is by Brian K. Vaughan I believe, and then issue 2 of Paper Girls. I love the covers of these, they're very bright and very fun. I do think that the story is weird of these. Like, it's about these paper girls who go out and they are trying to do their rounds and deliver their papers, and then all sorts of utter chaos starts happening. And I won't say any more than that because I don't want to spoil it for people who do want to read this series, but I do think it's a bit weird, and I don't necessarily love the art style as much as I could, and I don't necessarily love the characters as much as I could, but I am interested in the concept and where they're going with it. So I think what I'm going to do with this is pick up the 3rd one and see if I like it, and if I do, I'll continue, and if I don't, I might just give up on the series. At the moment, I gave the first one 4 out of 5 stars. It's a triple length one, so it's again huge in terms of a single issue. And then the second one, this pink one, I gave 3 out of 5 stars. I didn't like it as much and didn't feel as though I was connected with the characters or anything like that in that one, but I still think it's likeable. Now, moving on to some of the books that I ended up reading. I ended up reading 9 books and DNF-ing 1 book, and I'll talk about that when I get to it. The Art of Asking by Amanda Palmer is the first book that I read. It's a non-fiction book. I don't often read these, but I actually ended up very much enjoying this one. I've heard a lot of people say that this book sort of changed their life and changed their perceptions in life. That didn't happen at all for me. I just found that it was an interesting, exciting read about Amanda Palmer's life. I thought she was an interesting person. She's been through a lot and she's done a lot of things, and I thought discovering and learning about that was really good, but it didn't change my perceptions on life very much. So I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I then picked up In Order to Live by Yeonmi Park, and I really, really loved this. I read this as a buddy read with Eleanor and Chelsea, and we all gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. It was a really, really frank retelling of her life escaping from North Korea and what goes on there and how she escaped and all the horrible things she had to go through to get where she is today. I just thought it was incredible, and I can't recommend it higher. The first few parts I felt quite detached from her as a character. I did feel as though I was maybe not invested, but then the third part really turned everything around completely for me, because that's where all the emotions started coming out, and I definitely did cry a bit whilst reading this. And then I watched her speech afterwards, and then I cried in that as well. So yeah, it's very emotional. It's a really, really great read. Again, non-fiction, because it's talking about her life, and so definitely worth checking out. I then picked up Fool's Assassin by Robin Hobb. This is the first book in the Fits and the Fools series, which is ongoing, so there's only 2 books out at the moment. I read this mostly on audiobook because I was travelling and I didn't have the physical edition with me, so I mostly listened to this whilst I was travelling into and from my work experience that I was doing, and it was such a good book. I honestly loved it to bits. It was incredible. I think it's almost exactly on par with Fool's Fate for like my favourite book ever, which is incredible. Again, another Robin Hobb book that I'm going to say that about because it's just flawless. Fool's Fate is still probably a tiny bit ahead, but this one is definitely epic too. So I gave that a 5 out of 5 stars, of course, and then I read the next one in the series, which is Fool's Quest, and again that one also got a 5 stars from me, but it was a less excitable 5 stars. The first one was definitely better, the second one was a lot slower moving, and it still had loads of interesting stuff going on, but it was a lot slower moving. Then I picked up Professional Integrity, which is by Michael J. Sullivan. This is a short story and it's set in his Re-Area world, following Royce and Hadrian, who are our main characters for all of the Re-Area books, and I really, really highly enjoyed this. It was very fun, very short, very quirky, some great ideas and great twists on sort of themes, so I gave that a 4 out of 5 stars. Then I picked up The Dark Forest by Cixin Liu, which I was so excited about. I was planning to do a live show of this with loads of other people. We were all really invested and excited because we all read The Three-Body Problem and loved it. And then we picked up the second one, and I think Brie from Stories on the Shelf, she said it better than I could, so I'll put a link to her video where she talks about why she decided to DNF this book. I don't usually DNF books, and I was really excited for this book, and it was just a letdown in all areas for me. It completely shifted everything from what I liked in the first book to a whole other story. It didn't feel like the same writer was writing it. I don't know if it was the translation was really bad, but it didn't feel like it worked in English at all. I know a lot of Chinese readers have commented on my Three-Body Problem review and said that they loved the second one and the third one's even better, but for me this was a real letdown. It did not work in English for some reason. The translation was bad, it was dodgy, I don't know what it was, or whether it was just Cixin Liu's writing style doesn't translate into English very well. I don't know, but I didn't like the characters. I didn't feel like they were likeable people. They were rude, they were nasty, they sort of only served themselves. And then I didn't like where the story was going. I felt like the concepts of the wall facers and the wall breakers were really weird. So I got about halfway through that, and then I gave up because I couldn't read it. I wasn't getting entertained from it at all. It was just annoying me every time I was reading it, and I just decided, you know what, I'm not going to put myself through this. So Unfortunately, I ended up DNFing, or not finishing, The Dark Forest by Cixin Liu, and I won't be continuing on with the rest of the series because it's just not for me from now on, so I'm just going to read this three-body problem on its own and leave it at that, because I really loved that one, but the second one didn't work at all. Then I picked up Truth Witch, which is by Susan Dennard. This actually comes out in January, so it's not out yet. This is an advanced reader copy, so the front cover is different. I will put a little picture up to show you guys. But I was very kindly sent this to review from Macmillan, and I was very happy to do so, and I actually ended up really enjoying this. I was in a little bit of a reading slump after finishing reading Hob and Hob, and so this really helped pull me out of that. It's a really quick read. It does read a little bit like YA. There are some sort of YA sort of tropes that are thrown in, but honestly I think this is a really good read, and there's a relationship between the two females within this. They're best friends, and it's one of the best friendships I've seen in a long time in books between two females, so I definitely enjoyed that element, and I think that this story will get better as it goes. It comes out, I believe, 14th of January next year, and I ended up giving it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Then I picked up Church of Marvels by Leslie Parry. This is a book that I ended up buddy reading with Eleanor, which was really good fun. This one I was also sent for review. I was sent this very kindly by Two Roads. I thought it was alright, I thought it was likeable, but I do think that the cover of this is really misleading. It's not about a circus, although it looks like it is, and it quotes things that sort of make it seem like it is. It really isn't. The circus is a very, very background, small feature to a story which is mostly about the sort of gritty underside of New York and what goes on and that sort of thing. It's more of a mystery and an investigation into what goes on in the underside of New York, as opposed to a look at this circus where people worked. Really isn't that. So don't go into this thinking it's that, otherwise you will be a bit disappointed. So for me, I could only give this a 3 out of 5 stars because it wasn't what I expected it to be, and although it did what it did well enough, it just really wasn't what I thought it was going to be at all, so it jarred with me a little bit. So 3 out of 5 stars for that one. I then ended up the month with 2 very short novellas. The first one is How the Marquis Got His Coat Back. This is by Neil Gaiman, and it's a Neverwhere short story. Haven't actually read Neverwhere, but I believe you can just read this on its own because it made sense to me, and I'm sure if you have read the story of Neverwhere it probably makes more sense. But this was a really fun read. I do really enjoy Neil Gaiman's short fiction. I think he's incredible as a writer, and I think he can really evoke some strong emotions and is very, very captivating. So I gave this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It was really, really fun, but yeah, it's only 50 pages, so it's really, really short and very quick to get through. And then the final one that I have finished is Terry Pratchett's Shaking Hands with Death. This was actually a BBC lecture that he gave, and he wrote it about death and Alzheimer's and the fact that he believes people should be allowed to have assisted deaths if their illness is sort of taking over their lives and they can't really live their life anymore. He believes very strongly in this, and it is something that he talks very passionately about before he died. So this is one of the lectures that he gave, and I really, really enjoyed this. I definitely feel as though my beliefs are in line with Terry Pratchett's, and I think the way that he talks about such a serious, dark topic in a very fun way and sort of can lighten it and make it something that people can interact with without being scared of it, I really appreciated that. So I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. Also, I was reading it very late at night and it did make me cry a couple of times. I don't know if that was necessarily because it was amazing or if I was just really tired, but I really enjoyed this and it definitely made me quite emotional. So yeah, loved that one. Those are all of the books and graphic novel things and single issue things that I ended up reading in November. I had a pretty good month overall, not as good on the actual books, but very good on the graphic novels. So I'm hopeful that December will be really good as well. I'm planning to do some rereads and some exciting books in December, so I will let you know about those in my December TBR, which will be up very soon. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all very soon in another video. Bye! Me and you gonna have a little chat.